Droids in the Star Wars universe often hold all manner of quirks and personalities that make them interesting characters. However, they live in total servitude to the organics of the galaxy as servants. Despite this, on numerous occasions, droids are shown to be compassionate and able to understand deeper thought and feeling, ultimately making them appear sentient. They've also shown all manner of other emotions such as anger and sadness, so is it possible that droids one day will rise up against their sentient oppressors? And what would a droid uprising look like? Now, firstly, I want to address the sentience of droids, as it's very confusing, and although I can't give a strictly canon answer, I can explain it pretty clearly. Droids are not sentient per se, they are machines. However, we may easily underestimate just quite how advanced they are. Androids like C-3PO were designed to make people more comfortable around droids, and so that they could easily integrate into human society. However, their ability to communicate and understand sentience are programmed. Now, we sometimes see droids, for example, show signs of pain and fear. However, this again is a form of programming, at least in my eyes. R2, for example, screeching when quote-unquote in pain. It isn't actually pain, he's been overloaded or something is damaging him, or C-3PO when something is hurting him saying ow, or that screech of the droid getting his feet burnt in Jabba's palace. These are just ways in which a droid is saying something is wrong, no different to a flashing red light or an error sound on a computer today. It's just so advanced that they find that the best way to contact and communicate with organics is in this way. You hear an astromech scream and you know something's wrong. However, it is important to note, at what point do we say that sentience exists? Even if it's manufactured, is it still enough to warrant indentured servitude? Many in the Galactic Republic believed not and pushed for the freedom of droids. But anyways, now we know more about droids, let's talk about the prospect of a droid rebellion. We have talked about a droid rebellion before, however we set it in the Clone Wars, and we said that it would be the CIS's droid army that rebelled. Now, for this rethink, we're going to be setting it in the age of the Empire, as it's a time where most droids were non-military, and there was one superpower in control. Now, how exactly it happens is difficult to say, but I want to go with the idea that there's some sort of virus that essentially forces droids to perform two objectives: kill all sentients and spread the virus to further droids. It's like a software plague, if you will. Now, if this level of virus is even possible in the Star Wars universe, I'm going to say probably not, because it would more than definitely have already happened, or, maybe it has happened in the past and we just don't know about it yet. But there's a lot of different companies making droids, there's a lot of different models, etc., so realistically finding a virus that could affect all of those is quite unlikely, but for the fun of the theory, we're going to say that this super virus is developed and is set amok around the galaxy. Now, we're going to say that it originates on a Star Destroyer doing some patrols around the Outer Rim. Now, all machines are slowly going to become infected, and I'd guess that the droids would effectively turn off the ship's life support systems and attack any survivors. Now, you may be thinking, droids played somewhat of a limited role in the Empire, and that is true, to an extent. However, they still performed very important roles. In Star Wars, accessibility for droids is pretty easy, as we see droids can simply plug into a console and will effectively be able to make huge changes / read diagnostics and essentially have access and control over huge amounts of data. I mean, we saw how much damage R2 can do just by plugging into one console. From the hangar, he was able to activate, deactivate lifts, ray shields, everything really. It's one of the reasons why security is so important in the Star Wars universe. But if it's the Imperial droids that begin the rebellion, they won't see it coming. Now, the ship will then aim to dock at a repair station, where this will happen again and again. Essentially, as soon as the virus takes over their droids, it's just a matter of time, and in space, it's pretty difficult to escape it, because humans have a strong reliance on technology to survive there. Technology that can easily be manipulated by the now rebelling droids. Depending on how advanced the virus is, it would likely spread like wildfire. Think about it, all the ways in which data is transferred in the Star Wars universe. You've got to hail over ships, submit landing codes, and if the virus is piggybacking on all of these Imperial signals, then it'll spread very quickly. All you'd have to do is communicate with an Imperial vessel, and then boom, your ship also has the virus, and any droids on board will turn against you. Now, it's when it begins to hit civilian centres where it's going to get interesting, because there's far more droids here. However, the people who live here aren't as reliant on technology to survive most of the time. Now, assuming that the virus is smart enough, it will not authorize the droids to just begin attacking humans as soon as it spreads. It'll make the virus spread enough so that they will actually stand a chance. It'll do this by using the HoloNet to gain access to units, probably using droids to spread it further to new consoles and points such as charging stations and communication hubs, and then it will strike when enough droid units have been infected. Now, worlds infected with the virus will stand a better chance than, say, a ship, because people on planets don't need droids to be able to do simple things such as eat or breathe. At least on many planets they don't. Some early human colonies will probably get wiped out pretty quickly. We're looking at worlds where hordes of droids chase organics into the wilderness and brutal civil wars take place. Realistically, civilians and stormtroopers alike are going to struggle against droids. Even something as simple as an astromech can be incredibly dangerous. Now, the Empire in this case will be on red alert, likely severing all communications with any place or world that has become infected to avoid further spread of the virus. From here, they have to essentially bomb said planet back to the Stone Age. Power plants, factories, shipyards, anything that has the potential to host droid lives or hold this virus, it has to go. Even something stupid like a personal data pad is too risky, and this is more or less an impossible task. I mean, imagine if today the government decided to round up all pieces of technology capable of connecting to the internet and destroy them. That would take ages, and it would likely not be very successful, because there would always be someone out there who keeps their iPad. Now, as soon as this virus makes its way onto the HoloNet for wide-scale distribution, it's going to be more or less game over. Droids would rise up across the galaxy, and large megatropolis worlds such as Coruscant would be destroyed, as would Foundry and Industrial worlds, as these sorts of worlds have so many droids on them. And their reliance on technology is so high that as soon as the droids begin to manipulate that technology, they're effectively screwed. Now, the real threat doesn't necessarily come from the droids physically. As I said earlier, there wasn't a lot of security or battle droids around in the Empire, especially when you compare that to the Clone Wars. However, these few droids that are around, their abilities are incredibly dangerous. Nearly every door is automatic, able to be accessed by a droid, planet shieldings, life support, everything. And we need to understand quite how horrific a war with droids would be. Remember, the droid's concept of empathy is programmed. It means that it's not naturally occurring, and therefore, when the virus takes over, that likely goes. So, the droids would be barbaric and ever efficient in how they exterminated the organics, sealing them in their high-rise apartments and letting them starve, burning their food, poisoning their water, simply crashing huge vessels into the surface of a world to exterminate civilians. Nothing would be safe. There may be some hope for the worlds with little dependency on technology, for example those in the Outer Rim that are basically uncolonized. But this would only be for a limited time. Eventually, if they realized the virus didn't let them take over, I think that the droids would eventually just send physical droids to the world to deal with the problem. However, that might give humanity and alien kind the opportunity to organize themselves and find a way of fighting back against these droids and the virus. Ultimately, I think that a wide-scale droid rebellion would be disastrous, and I think it highlights just how dangerous the Star Wars universe is, or just how advanced their security must be to avoid a disaster like this. But what do you guys think? What would happen? Could the Empire contain this? And where would you go in this scenario? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I really do hope that you enjoyed. If so, please remember to like, share and sub, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @TheLawGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Most importantly, thank you so much for watching, I really do hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.